Good evening. Hello. 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 Hope everyone's doing well. Just kind of wait for some people to come hang out with me. If you are unfamiliar, by the title of this video, you should see that this is going to be a live show for the read-along that I've been hosting in the year 2024 for the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski. And today we are going over The Time of Contempt, which is the second full book in the main series. So if you have not read any of the books prior to The Time of Contempt, I would strongly suggest stopping watching this live stream, go read the books, and then come back, because this will be available as a video that you will be able to watch on my channel if you choose to then get into the discussion of the book, stuff like that. But if you are fine with spoilers, things like that, that is more than okay for you to stay. Just want to put it out there, in case somebody is like, I don't want any spoilers or anything like that. There will be spoilers. I will be going over like pretty much everything that goes on in this book to kind of set us up for what we've been reading, what we've been talking about with this series, and then hopefully what are some theories, some things that we would like to see going into book 3, which we will talk about at the end of this live show. But so what I have is I have some notes here for that I have for basically the book that I had taken in terms of like the plot, things that happened, things like that. So let's just start at the beginning. So The Time of Contempt takes place right after the events of Blood of Elves. So if you especially have not read The Blood of Elves in this series, you definitely need to, because this does take place immediately after and is a direct sequel to Blood of Elves. Now, what happens in this is that specifically, Ciri, we know by the end of The Blood of Elves, is with, activated my phone. She is with Yennefer. She's been with Yennefer for quite some time learning magic that we saw at the end of Blood of Elves. What the two of them then decide to do is Yennefer wants to take her to this school of magic where she can further her craft and further her mastery of magic, which is in a school in what is called Aretuza. So essentially, they leave the temple that they are currently at, which is the Temple of Elander, and they end up heading into, a place called Gor's Valen. Excuse me. I apologize. I've been so stuffy this past week. My allergies have been crazy, so I'm very stuffy, and I might be a little bit coffee here and there. So what happens, though, is when they get to Gor's Valen, Yennefer decides to go to this dwarven bank where her money is supposedly, funded through all these things, and she finds out that someone's been tracking her movements financially, and Yennefer already kind of guessed this, but basically she arranges this pretty much like unlimited amount of credit for her, and then makes a lot of transfers to cover the expenses for Ciri's education in the school of Aretuza. And then, so the dwarf, he goes through and does all this, and they let Ciri go see everything that there is in this area, and she's escorted by one of the employees at the bank, Fabio. Basically what happens, though, is while they are on this excursion, while Ciri is going through and seeing all these things in Gor's Valen, they find that a wyvern was being held as a sideshow creature somewhere. Hi, Bree, welcome. So the wyvern was being used basically as like, oh, this is a dragon, whatever. But, obviously Ciri knows what they look like. She knows what they are. She's like, that's not a dragon. That's a wyvern. Quit playing. Like, quit trying to joke people out of their money. Like, come on now. And mind you, this girl is probably like, at this point, 13, 14 years old. So most kids probably wouldn't know what this kind of a creature is. And that's why these sideshow, like, people would get like so much money from them. But this girl ain't about to let that slide. We know she knows what she's talking about. So basically, though, what ends up happening is the wyvern then breaks out of its cage, and Ciri ends up using an amulet that Yennefer had given her. Sorry, I keep activating my phone. I need to turn that off. She uses an amulet that Yennefer gave her in case of emergency. What happens is people in this world who are able to use magic and understand magic, they can also then sense magic when it's being used. And so then Ciri finds out that there are two sorceresses that are kind of like watching them, around them, basically. And she is then mistaken by one of the students who have kind of like escaped from Aretusa in the whole thing. Like she gets mistaken for a student that is from Aretusa, and she's like apprehended by the police, basically. And the headmaster comes and they mistake, her for a student. They don't believe her story. And this is where we meet a couple characters named Tisaya, I think, DeVries, and Margarita Lo Antil. They don't believe her story. They think, nope, she's just trying to get out of this. They're very much kind of like not giving her the benefit of the doubt. But essentially, Fabio ends up convincing the headmistresses, along with Ciri, to check out the story at the bank, and things are then confirmed by Yennefer and the banker that was at the Dwarven Bank. Then basically what happens is all of them go to talk things through at this place called the Silver Heron. And Fabio then has to deal with his employer, which is not fun because he's like, I lost the kid. Sorry, man. Then what happens at the inn is that the headmistresses, they get into this like drunken state because they decide to rent the entire cellar of alcohol. Rent the entire cellar, which is basically a bathhouse, and all the women there go to like relax, kind of chat, talk about what they're doing, things like that. And Rita and Tisaya, they get so stinking drunk that it makes Ciri so uncomfortable. She is so uncomfortable with all of their lewdness and things like that. And they actually end up using Ciri as basically like their little gopher, if you will. Like, go get me more wine, go get me this, go get me that. And essentially what happens is that Ciri at one point notices a mercenary who we find out is named Rayla. And basically that mercenary opens a back door that leads out to the outer walls of the city of Gorsvalen. And it bypasses like all of the different guards, all of the different gates that are in the city. And Ciri basically uses that as her ability to run off and try to find Geralt, because throughout this entire time, she is convinced that Geralt is like in danger, something's wrong with him, she needs to go find him and help him. And she's found out that he is supposedly in this place named Hirundum, which is not very far from Gorsvalen, so she could walk there. But obviously, Yennefer, knowing much more than, she probably ought to, knows that Ciri is going to end up running off to find Geralt, which she follows. And it does actually cause this meeting of Geralt with the two women. And Yennefer and Geralt actually, for the first time in a long time, get to reconnect, and they kind of restart their relationship for the upteenth millionth time that we've seen in this series already. Like, my God, dude, this girl is nothing but trouble for you. I know she's helping you with this kid, but she is not girlfriend material. Let her go. Let her go. Like, I feel like I have to keep saying this throughout most of the series, but it is what it is. But anyway, then all three of them decide that they're going to go to the island that Aretusa is on, called the Thainid Island. Yeah, like, we get it. We get that, y'all are a thing. Y'all are supposedly in love with each other, can't keep your hands off each other. Like, we get it. Oh my God. Yeah, like, leave her alone. Like, seriously, she's not worth it. She's not worth it by any means. Leave her alone. It is so frustrating. That's the one thing I think is so frustrating to me about this series. But again, it's one of those things where I can't make the decisions for these characters. I just have to witness them make the bad decisions and have my heart hurt the entire time. So, it is what it is. I mean, I'm gonna be a little dirty here, but that must be some good pussy. I'm just gonna say. That must be some good pussy for him to keep going back. I checked out when she was messing with two men at the same time. Yeah, seriously. He knows. He knows that she's messed around with so many other people. Like, why are you still going back to her? Why? Oh my lord. Geralt. But regardless, they end up back together. The three of them end up going to the Thenade Island where Aretusa is. Hey, I'm just speaking what I think is truth. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think it's speaking truth. I think it is, truthfully. Like, come on. It's got to be that good for him to keep going back and erase everything that there is wrong with Yennefer. Truthfully. Am I wrong or am I not? Like, come on. So on the island, things kind of get a little crazy. Like, things are when they get to the island, first of all, things are kind of just all messed up. All of the women that are in Aretusa, they get temporarily moved to this place called Loxia, which is the lowest level of the complex of the school, which is being used to accommodate the visiting sorcerers and sorceresses. That evening, Yennefer takes Geralt to this reception, and they leave Ciri in her room, and making sure that she doesn't escape this time, because they all know how flighty she is. While at the reception, Geralt ends up meeting a lot of different kinds of people. He meets this man named, this person named how do they say their name? Vilgefortz, I think. They are a mage who is very, very young in age, essentially. Like, he looks to be like, I think they said like 35 or something, when most mages are not like 100 years or older. Like, he's really young for a mage in this world. And he's considered to be really, really talented. But what Geralt then finds out is that the journey that this guy ended up making to become a mage is not the normal route that most people end up becoming a mage in. What happened, we find out in the story, is that the wizard was abandoned as a baby, and he was taken in and raised by druids, which druids are very magic-wielding people. They are very nature-based. That is something that you can see throughout multiple different types of mythology and history. They're very nature-based. And they have this magic within them that tends to the earth and can be destructive at times, but is really reserved for more peaceful kinds of things. And it wasn't until Vilgefortz was an adult that he became a mage, and he kind of makes that a certain point with Geralt. And he tries to even encourage Geralt to become a mage himself, instead of being a witcher. And Geralt's like, nah, man, I'm good. Let's not do that. Then essentially another person named, oh gosh, how do they pronounce the name? Dijkstra? I want to say, I don't know. They try to recruit Geralt as well during this reception. Doesn't work. And what happens is then after the reception, Yennefer and Geralt go back to their room, have relations, as it were. And what happens, though, is that next morning, Geralt wakes up to go pee, and he decides to relieve himself in the flower pots outside of the window, which I thought was very funny, because I keep forgetting that Geralt's a guy that just doesn't give a fuck about anything. Like, I keep forgetting that Geralt is like, just fuck it, I don't care. Let's just do what we're gonna do, and consequences be damned in some capacity. So what ends up happening is he wasn't having it. No, he was not. He was like, yeah, that's cool and all for you, but I'm fine doing me. So bye. Can you tell where I've been recently for the last little while with how I'm speaking? I feel like I've been like taking on the vocabulary and the cadences of a lot of the students I work with. Mind you, elementary kids as well. So it's been interesting. Anyway, let's see. Where was I? Where was I in my notes? Oh, right. And then as he's relieving himself, he realizes that there's a coup taking place at the school. Like, something's going down. And a couple of the people that are there, Philippa Eihart, who is one of the sorceresses at the school, and Dijkstra, who we've already met, and we know as a spy working for the King of Redania, they apparently organized this coup to reveal the mages that were working for the Emperor of Nilfgaard. Like, there was supposedly some underworkings going on of people that at the school were working for the Nilfgaardian Empire, which, if we remember from book 1, is the world that is trying to take over the main world that Geralt and Ciri and Yennefer are a part of. They are basically the enemy. And it seems that there's some people at this school that are supposedly working for the enemy and trying to infiltrate this school in particular, where their most powerful beings are in this world. So what happens is that in all the confusion that there is, we find out that Yennefer had brought Ciri to Tissaia. I don't remember how you pronounce her name. And Ciri actually has a moment where she starts to prophesize. Like, we've already known that she is a really powerful young girl. She has a lot of things going on with her. She's actually had moments before where she's prophesized. I believe it was in either Blood of Elves, or it was in the Sword of Destiny, where she had a moment when she was training that she started prophesizing these crazy things. And so it happens again. And Ciri reveals that there's going to be an assassination on the King of Redania, or that it's already happened, basically, and that another person, the King of Aedirn, which is named Demavend, they have started already, they've kind of preemptively started an attack on Nilfgaard. Like, she's basically prophesizing that if there hasn't been already, there's going to be a murder of one of the kings, and another king is going to go and attack Nilfgaard. And the reason, like, this revelation, with what Tissaia already knows, is infuriating. She's against violence. And essentially what happens is she takes down the barrier of casting spells that is on the school and sides with Vilgefortz in the whole matter that's going on, leading to a really deadly battle among all of the mages that are there. You know, they're basically fighting against each other. And then Geralt ends up escaping from Dijkstra and rushes to save Yennefer and Ciri at the school. But what happens then is that they end up fighting the invading Scoia'tael, which are like the elves, basically, that are fighting for Nilfgaard, I think. They are supporting Vilgefortz, who Tissaia ends up joining with. And Ciri runs. She flees. The Black Rider, who has been plaguing her dreams, turns out to be an actual Nilfgaardian soldier. Remember that Ciri, at this point, has been having many dreams, many nightmares, actually, of a Black Rider that is taking her through the city that is burning to, like, down to the ground. And she wakes up and she's like, it's like, I don't know whether this guy is good or bad. I just know that he is not someone I want to be around. And it turns out that that man is one of the Nilfgaardian soldiers that is trying to get Ciri out of Sintra. That, like, they got her, he got her out of Sintra, and she keeps having these nightmares because they're flashbacks. I had to think about it for a second, but they were flashbacks. She finds out that he was a Nilfgaardian soldier that saved her, basically. Geralt then faces Vilgefortz, who again makes him an offer to join his side of the war, and Geralt refuses, and a fight ensues, and Geralt is knocked down bad. Like, he is down and out completely. And then Tissaia finds out and realizes, actually, more so, that she is on the wrong side of the war, of the fight. And she gets Triss Marigold to help, and they take Geralt away to safety so that they can try to heal him. Don't remember none of that. Should have gotten the audio. Not liking the series as much. Yeah, that's okay. Like, it's a series where I think that a lot of the political stuff gets really confusing. And so it gets kind of bogging down a lot. So I try to take as many notes as I can to help me with figuring out what's going on. And I am starting to recognize some things are tying together a little bit more, especially as I'm talking. Like as I'm talking through the books, it helps me to better understand what actually happened and who's involved in what. Um, so that's been helpful, but I will say that that is still one of my big pain points with this series is the politics are for some reason just making it so much harder for me to like it, but that's not necessarily a surprise to me because like I think of how I first read like the Song of Ice and Fire series. That was pretty much the same thing for me. The politics were really not my favorite thing. I liked the battle scenes. Same thing with the Way of Kings series, the Stormlight Archive. Politics, I could do without. The fighting, the battles, by all means, get me in there. That's where I want to be. And then, the relationship stuff, yada, yada, yada. But this is, though, much more on the tame side, I think, compared to those two series. But this is still really confusing for a lot of people, me included. So I try to take as best notes as I can, and trying to rely on my memory is sometimes difficult, which is why I take a lot of notes. But yeah, so that's hopefully that this is helping people with understanding what's going on, but I'm doing as much as I can. Love the magic system, and I remember Geralt getting his ass kicked. Yeah, he got his ass handed to him and then some. Like, he had his ass, his back, and his head practically given to him. All he needed was the arms and legs, and he'd be done. Um, that's how I think of it. So then what we end up finding out is that there's a chapter that's dedicated, or at least a part, maybe not a chapter, but there's a part dedicated to actually understanding what the Nilfgaardians are wanting and what they're going after. And the Emperor, Emhyr var Emrys, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Emhyr var Emrys, he wanted the chapter of mages to break apart, since basically at this point in the story, the sorcerers and the mages are the reason that he's lost battles like the Battle of Sodden Hill, which was, I think, what happened in Blood of Elves, or it was talked about in the end of Sword of Destiny. I can't quite remember. So the breakup of that chapter and the incoming war breaks, basically, it breaks Tisea. Like she breaks, and she commits suicide. It's really tragic for her, and especially with the mistake that she made with joining Vilgefortz's side at first, and then realizing her mistake when Geralt got hurt. It was too much for her. It was way too much for her, and so she took her own life. And then after the events that happened on Thanaid Island, an entire war just blows up with Nilfgaard advancing to the north of the country. And King Demavend, one of the rulers in one of the kingdoms, he escapes to Redania, while Adern, another person, Rivia, and another person, Vengerberg, they fall to Emhyr's grasp. They fall in with the Nilfgaard kingdom. Another king, Foltest of Temura, he forms a deal with Emhyr and completely avoids the war on Temeria for the moment. Like, he joins up to make sure that Temeria does not get got. And in the meantime, Emhyr is managing to essentially find a fake version of Ciri, who he is after. We learn that in Blood of Elves, that they are looking specifically for her because of the fact that she's so powerful and can change the tide of the war itself. So he's looking to find a fake version of her to present to his court and announce his plan of protecting her by sending her away to a castle in a faraway kingdom, part of his kingdom. So he he literally has this moment where he takes in this girl who kind of looks like Ciri, but you really understand that she's not her, and is like, yep, that's going to be her. That's going to be my stand-in. I'm going to send her away to, quote unquote, protect her. But meanwhile, I'm going to actually be hunting down the real one because I want her. So in all of the craziness that goes on Thanaid Island, Ciri ends up escaping through a portal in Torlara. And what happens is then she wakes up in this desert, the Korath Desert, known what we learn later as the frying pan, because it's extremely hot there and it basically cooks people alive as they're trying to traverse this desert. She barely manages to stay alive. It's heartbreaking to watch her go through this whole thing because she's so young, for one. And two, she's all by herself. Sorry, Dougie's getting a little sassy. She's such a strong young girl, but she's still a teenager, a young teenager. She's not able to necessarily be on her own just yet. She doesn't know how to live in various different environments yet. She's still very much kind of that, not repressed, but sheltered. She's a very sheltered young girl in a lot of ways, even with what she's seen with Geralt and Yennefer. She's still very sheltered. And so this is a huge test for her, I think, in a lot of ways, to show us as the reader what this girl is capable of and what she's able to do. I mean, we have an entire scene where she has to rely on her magical abilities to get rain to fall so that she can drink water. And she meets up with this cute little unicorn that she ends up calling Little Horse. And the entire time, from the minute that I realized that we were going to have an animal companion with us, and there was going to be a horse animal companion, you want to know the thing that kept running through my damn head the entire time? Y'all see the never-ending story? Think you might catch my drift with that? With Atreus? And what happens to Atreus? I kept thinking that was going to be what was going to happen. And I thought at one point that was going to happen, and I was really scared. I did not know how I was going to be able to deal with that if this poor little horse ends up dying, because would have broken my heart. My heart was going. It was beating. It was fluttering. It was scary. So what ends up happening, like I said, Ciri ends up using her magical abilities to basically use fire, which what happens then is it kickstarts all these hallucinations and nightmares, and she gets in her mind and her soul that she has to take revenge on everyone who's abandoned her, everyone who's left her scarred, and she promises to herself to avoid fire as her main source of power, though. She wants, though, to, like, take revenge on those people. Like, that's going to be something we're probably going to see a lot of in the next books, is that is going to be a main theme for her, is this idea of revenge. She does escape the desert, but she's captured by these bounty hunters from Nilfgaard, and they don't know who she is, but they're like, she could be this girl that we're supposedly supposed to be looking for. But she ends up escaping them with this helpful group of bandits named the Rats. And the Rats basically take her under their wing, and basically she joins up with them because she feels safe with them. She feels like she kind of belongs in this band of misfits. And she feels like they all have something in common in terms of the fact that they've all faced similar harsh realities of being abandoned during times of contemption, which leads to the title of our story. They are all people who have felt in one way or another they have been abandoned and ridiculed and hurt to the point where they are seeking revenge on things and people that deal with that. And we then learn that she starts to go by the name Falca, which we learn in her hallucinations and nightmares that she has while she's in the desert and she's using fire. That's the name of somebody that prophesized Ciri's birth and her abilities, was a woman named Falca. She was a sorceress. And that's where basically we end the story, is Ciri's joined the band of rats, and now we have to figure out, first of all, is she even going to get to Geralt and Yennefer again? If so, is her entire storyline then going to be focused entirely on revenge, or is she going to more so fulfill the original plan that she had? And how is it going to be when she gets back to Geralt and Yennefer? How are they going to react to what she's become? What is she going to turn into as she joins in with this band of people? Like, we at least know that Ciri is safe. We know that she is somewhere in a deserted area that could be in Nilfgaardian territory. We're not really 100% sure. It's called the Korath Desert, where this place is. It's called the Frying Pan. I know it's in the Northern Kingdoms, but I don't know if it's like necessarily in part of like, I don't, because these books, the versions I have don't have maps, which I think is a huge pain point for me with these books, this edition that I have, is that they don't have maps. So I don't know whether or not the Korath Desert is in any way like close to Nilfgaard, or if it is like far away from it kind of thing. I don't know. That's something I have to look up on like a Wikipedia of some kind. But that is basically the entirety of the Time of Contempt. Now, my thoughts on this. I definitely think that I liked it. I mean, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that personally, Ciri is going to have this aspect of revenge plague her throughout most of the book. If not the rest of the books themselves, at the very least, it's going to be a huge thing in the next book. Because I suspect that we're going to be with these guys for a while, the rats. I suspect we're going to be banding with them for a while, and then Geralt and Yennefer are going to be like, all right, where the hell did this girl go? Where is she? What kind of portal could she have taken? Where would it have gone? And trying to track her down, basically. Predict revenge, and Yennefer and Geralt has to stop her. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards too, in terms of like if I'm thinking like what would be a predictable setup, that is my predictable setup. That is the one I would say is the more what I would do. So therefore, to me, it is the most likely, but I could be wrong. I could be entirely wrong, and Baptism of Fire could be like, you know, a very short-lived altercation, and then she's back to normal, more so, kind of thing. Ugh, my nose is itchy. So, yeah. So what did you guys think about this one? Like I said, I think that the politics in here were a little still confusing. I mean, I understood for the most part. There wasn't like a ton of political stuff, but because like the main plot of the political aspect was the Nilfgaardian Emperor basically like saying, hey, this person, you go do this. This person, you go do this. They got an astrologer involved, which I thought was really cool. I kind of was like, huh, astrology for the win, because, you know. But I thought that was really, really interesting, where they were going to try to use astrology to figure, and astronomy too, to try to figure out where in the world could Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri possibly be. Like they're trying to use astrology to make that into a map, which I thought that's an interesting choice. I don't know how well that's going to work for them, but it's an interesting choice nonetheless. But yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think in general, like, it's not a bad book. I think that like the biggest thing is the political stuff is so crazy. Like, I know the most important aspect is that there's all these different kinds of kingdoms that are all, you know, either going toward Nilfgaard, or they're trying to stay out of it, or they're trying to fight against them. And all of them, to some extent, want the girl. They want the girl because she supposedly is going to either make or break this entire world. And Geralt's the one that has to protect her. So, need a drink. I've been talking for a half hour straight. I haven't even had a drink. Oh, excuse me. Wrong pipe. But what was your guys' thoughts on the Time of Contempt in general? Did you feel like you liked this more? Did this actually seem to go in a way that you think is interesting? What were your guys' thoughts on it? Because for me, I think, like I said, I ultimately really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite thing of all time. The series is I don't think going to be my favorite series of all time, but I'm glad that I'm reading this series, because I think, for one, it makes a lot of sense why it became super popular. And also, it's a great way for me to connect with my husband, because he loved the video games that this series was that the series created, basically. Tired of Yennefer. Same. No, I'm tired of the back and forth with Yennefer. Like, seriously, like, just stop. Just stop. I don't know. Okay, so here's another question. And going into the next books, do we think that this last meeting of Yennefer and Geralt, do we think this is the final end game for them? Like, this is where they're going to stay together? Or do we think that they're going to break up at another point? Because it really could go either way. It's really a 50-50 shot of whether or not they're going to stay together. But I would also say that they will likely only stay together for the duration of the rest of the series, in my opinion, because of Ciri. I think they will only stay together for the purpose of protecting this girl. I think at some point, if they don't love each other, that's all they're going to stay together for. But I could be wrong. That's just my theory at this point. Because I've not read this series before. I didn't get past the first book. This is the first time I'm reading book 2. And actually, I think I didn't even read book 1. I think I only read the 2 prequel books and then I stopped there. So either way, this is my first time reading the second book. So I have no idea going into what, book 3 or 4 or 5 or the other side book. I don't know what's going to go on in those. I truly don't. So, but what were your guys' thoughts? I mean, obviously, Brie, 2.5 stars. That's fair because, like, there's a lot that is, I guess, boring. There's a lot of boring aspects of this book if you want to, because there wasn't a lot of action until they were on Thanaid Island. There really wasn't much action until then, other than the Wyvern incident. Probably not. She's toxic. I don't want that for Geralt. I don't want it either. But whether we want that is one thing. Whether or not Andrei Sapkowski thinks that they want that is a whole other ballgame. But now I don't know. I know I don't want Geralt to stay with her. I would rather him be alone than be with someone who's toxic. He doesn't deserve that. She doesn't deserve him in any regard. I think, though, that I feel like she's going to only stay with him because of Ciri and nothing else at some point. I feel like that it's going to be something where she's going to fall out of love with him but feel stuck. And until she finds that she has no use for the kid anymore, she's going to stay there and suffer, and then she will just up and leave when she's able to. That's a really pessimistic way of looking at it, I think, in a lot of ways, but I think that would be true. I think that would be true to her character, based on what I know so far. That's speaking it into existence. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just, I don't like her. I haven't liked her. Like, I liked some of the things that she did with Ciri in Blood of Elves, but I still hated her. I still don't like her. I think that she's an awful, awful person, and I hated her the first time I read these books. I still hate her, and I want someone different. I wish, what was the chick that was the bard that he had a thing for, that they never ended up getting together because he was so attached to Yennefer? What was her name? Oh no, I'm forgetting. What was her name? I don't remember, but those of you that read Sword of Destiny, you'll remember the story with Geralt and Dandelion. They went to this inn and they found another bard that Dandelion knew, and she and Geralt got into it. Like, they had relations and all these things, and she was besotted with him, and he really liked her, but he's like, girl, listen, I'm kind of on the hook with this other girl. I can't have this. Like, I'm not going to be in it fully. Like, it's not going to happen. And then at the end of that story, we find out that she dies and he never gets to see her again. And I'm just like, why? Why did that have to happen? Why did we have to kill her off all of a sudden? Why? Like, granted, the time between when they left each other and when she dies is like a long period of time, and she gets killed in like a raid of some kind that happens in town that she's in. But still, why the hell did we have to kill her off like that? She didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that. Oh, you're driving. Yeah, okay. Well, don't look it up if you're driving, for God's sake. You shouldn't even be typing if you're driving. Bad Brie. Bad Brie. But no. So basically, I think that this series overall is going really well for me. It's going better than I think I maybe initially expected, but it's not my favorite series of all time at this point. It is definitely a series I will keep. It is a series I would love to reread. It is something where I am more enticed to play The Witcher 3, at least, because I have a copy of that game on my Switch, I think. If not, my husband has a copy of it on our Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. So I would be more enticed to play it. I tried playing it before, and I just lost interest in it a little bit because it got taken up with other things. But let's go ahead and get into what book 3 is going to be. So we are going to be getting into book 3 this month, which is going to be for Baptism of Fire. So you guys can see that. Baptism of Fire is book 3, the main series, book 3. So the synopsis goes, the Wizards Guild has been shattered by a coup, and in the uproar, Geralt was seriously injured. The Witcher is supposed to be a guardian of the innocent, a protector of those in need, a defender against powerful and dangerous monsters that prey on men in dark times. But now that dark times have fallen upon the world, Geralt is helpless until he has recovered from his injuries. Because remember, he didn't end up going after Ciri. He was super, super injured. And then we had the chapter of Ciri in the desert and all these things. So at this point, all we know is that Geralt is gravely injured. While war rages across all of the lands, the future of magic is under threat, and those sorcerers who survive are determined to protect it. It's an impossible situation in which to find one girl. Ciri, the heiress to the throne of Cintra, has vanished, until a rumor places her in the Nilfgaard court, preparing to marry the Emperor. Injured or not, Geralt has a rescue mission on his hands. So, oh boy, that's going to be interesting. So we know that at some point she does end up getting trapped by the Emperor of Nilfgaard. How much you want to bet that she's going to try to attack this man when she can? I wouldn't put it past her, truthfully. But yeah, so it looks like we're going to have a lot to do in the beginning with Geralt's healing and figuring out what to do, and then finding out that she's missing. Whether or not Yennefer goes with him, I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out as we go. But at the very least, we know that she ends up somehow getting taken to the Nilfgaardian Emperor, is being forced to marry him. And lo and behold, Geralt might swing in at the very last second and be like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to fight for you. Step away from the girl kind of thing. Probably very much beaten up still, barely able to stand. I would not be surprised. But he's still going to be like, drop your sword, for my Princess Bride fans out there. So, this is book 3 right here, Baptism of Fire. Like I said, this is the book we're reading for in May. So the live show for this is going to be first weekend of June. We're going to do the live show June 1st. Yep, we'll do that. June 1st. Because it's the first Saturday of the month. So June 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be talking about this book, provided that nothing bad happens, nothing comes up for me. It shouldn't necessarily, because most of the time my weekends are pretty okay, but you never know, especially with it getting closer to the end of the school year. It's going to be probably really, really taxing on me mentally, but I'll try to push through. So anyway, but yeah, so this is what we'll be reading for the entire month of May. This basically is we're halfway through the main series. We still have 2 books in the main series after this, and then we technically have another prequel book, but I've heard a lot of people say that Season of Storms you read at the end of the series, and it helps answer a lot of questions from the rest of the books. So we're reading that 3rd technical prequel after the other books, but we are about halfway through this reading series. This reading series is going so well. I'm super happy with how it's turned out. And I hope that you guys are liking the books as well. I hope that you're enjoying what you're reading. And even if you're not enjoying it, I'm glad that you stuck with me at least for a little bit. And maybe these, these things where I talk through the synopsis of the stories and we talk a little bit about it. I hope that they are helpful. I hope that they are maybe a little bit more enlightening if you miss something. Like I said, I try to keep good notes of these, but I can only do so much, truthfully, with my brain. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I do want to also let you guys know of some things that have come up in the last couple of weeks, because I think I've said this before, but I was supposed to hear back in April about the program that I applied to for my substitute teaching. They ended up actually, I think I talked about this not that long ago. I might have been on sprints with either Bree or Brandy, but they ended up pushing out the final, the date, the last day that they will send out information about that stuff, and that's May 17th. So I have not heard from the program as of yet, but get this. The principal at my mom's school, my mom works as a school social worker in an alternative ed high school. The principal has basically offered me a parapro position so that if the Talent Together program does not fall through, or if it does fall through, excuse me, I will at least have a job for next school year, and I can do their homegrown program, which is typically what most people will do. So it's a little bit less money than I would like, but it's a smaller school area. It's more rural, so it's not like the city that I live in is much more kind of an urban setting, bigger city kind of thing. So they are able to pay more. But my hometown, this is back in my hometown, but at a different school than where I went to school. But it's got a lot of perks. My mom's there, so I have a friendly face. I'm very friendly with the principal and some of the staff members there, because not only have I subbed there before, but I just know them because of my mom. And either way, I have a job for next school year. An alternative school, yikes. There's a lot that can go wrong within that. Honestly, when I subbed there, I subbed for half the day, and I only had to see a handful of kids, but they were really decent with me. I think maybe because they know who my mom is, and so they kind of were like, "Oh, don't want to piss off Mrs. Hyde," kind of thing, because that's my mom. Thankfully, this alternative school, it's a fairly small school. There's probably, I don't know, less than 200 kids. I think it's less than 200 kids in this entire school. It's a very, very small building, and it's not very many people. So, and here's the thing, too. Here's the thing, too. I know that no matter what, at that school in particular, I'm safe. Because if I have a student who I'm working with, and this goes for not just the school my mom works at. This goes for the schools that I typically sub at. No matter where I'm at, I am safe because I always have a radio. There is always at least one other adult in the room with me. Friday, I had a kid who I've worked with before had a meltdown. And he threw a pencil, he threw paper, he kicked over a trash can. I didn't feel unsafe necessarily. He wasn't hitting me. He wasn't doing anything that was physically harming me. But the schools that I sub in, they are super protective of all of their staff, even their sub staff. And so, especially knowing that I've got the principal behind me, that I have my mom behind me, I have the assistant principal behind me, I have all the teachers behind me at my mom's school, I feel so much more safe than, just not having anything. And it just makes me really happy that I feel so grateful that my mom's school and the principal are so accepting of me, and that they want me. So yeah, it would be so awesome to be with my mom. The day that I was there for half the day, it was really nice because I got to go sit with her during my lunch break. Because like I worked at the general high school in town. Like the day I had was split between that. So I had half a day at the general school, high school, and then I split the other half the day at the alternative school because it was one teacher that would go between buildings. And so I got to have my lunch break with my mom and some of the staff there. I got to hang out with my mom for a little while on my break. She came and saw me every class period, like as people were passing through. And like the staff there is just super awesome. They're super sweet. I like being there a lot. But is it going to be the most taxing of things? Very likely, because a lot of the kids at this school, they have a lot of needs. And I'm not talking like special needs, I'm talking like behavior. And like a lot of the kids that are at this school have trauma of some sort. They have massive amounts of trauma. It's kind of sad. Oh, you really? Okay, sorry. Because I see don't tell nobody. Sorry. Yeah, I am so thankful that I, no matter what, have a guaranteed job, because not everybody gets that. And with this guaranteed job, I would still be able to go to school for free to get my education that I need. It's just I specifically will be working in my hometown for the next 5, 6, 7 years, which I'm okay with. I'll be okay with that. You know, it's not the ideal situation because it's like 45 minutes away, but it's manageable. It's something, it's somewhere, it gets me where I need to go, and I'm grateful for it. And I will be grateful for it if that comes to fruition. You are right, no school's ever safe. This school, I don't know. There's something to be said about, since all of the bad things that have happened in schools recently, like at least the schools where I sub in anymore, whether back in my hometown or where I live, they have really stepped up their game with safety. Like, not only do they have security guards, they have an entire team of parents and other people who get paid to be like the safety team, the people that escort students to and from classes that are having problems, the people that they have keys to certain doors that the teachers might have, but the kids can't like just get, kind of thing. Like there's one school I go to often now that I sub for PE. I've been subbing for PE a lot in the last month or so, which has been kind of fun. For middle school too, which has been interesting. The locker rooms, when I sub for either of the teachers that are in the gym, that are the PE teachers, one of the locker rooms is locked. And specifically, it's the boys. So they can't get in unless either the other gym teacher unlocks it or we get our safety team to unlock it for them. Because apparently the boys have a little bit of an issue when it comes to being in the locker rooms. So, but like they have so many adults that are constantly patrolling the schools, that are constantly like on the lookout for things. Like I think it's insane. Like it's weird that we had to get to that point, but it's really comforting to know that no matter what, I've got someone that's got my back. Even if they don't know me from Eve, someone's got my back. Someone's there to protect me. And I think that a lot of us teachers and subs and all that, like, we're looking out for each other because we have to. We have to look out for each other. Like, otherwise, who's going to do it? We can't necessarily look out for ourselves all the time. So, I don't know. Just, I'm feeling very grateful for especially this last week. I did find out, though, too, that the school that I really, really would like to be able to go work in, that I live in the town I live in, the teacher that I want to work under, she does want me to be her mentee. Like, she wants to be my mentor if I get into Talent Together. And if I have the choice, like, that is what I would do. So either way, if I get into the program and I can choose where I get to go, I'm set. I have like everything set up. If it doesn't go through and I end up going to the alternative ed high school with my mom, I feel like I'm still winning because I have a guaranteed job right there. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you guys. I wanted to tell you guys how things have been going because I haven't really been able to talk much in my recent vlogs about a lot of stuff because it's just been crazy. The last few weeks have been just emotionally and physically draining for me. So that's why my vlogs were not super content filled at all. But I'm hoping that with June, with it being the end of the school year, they will get to be a little bit more lively because I'm going to have to figure out stuff to do when I am on summer break. And I am hoping that I will get a summer job, at least so that I can get through the summer, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. There's tons of options. The school that I want to work at with Talent Together is like 10 minutes from my house. My mom's school is like 45 minutes. So, and there's a lot of construction on the roads between here and there, which is mind-boggling. They are not going to be done until very likely October, which is frustrating, but I think it'd be worth it to some extent. I at the very least will be able to do the program that like a homegrown program, which I think if anything would be worth it to me. Plus there's more bonuses within it. I would get better health insurance. I would, like just in general going into teaching, I would be able to get better health insurance than what I have currently. I would be able to see my mom a lot more and feel like a little bit more maybe connection with some of the students because it's such a smaller school kind of thing. But the drive is going to be probably what's going to be the most aggravating. Oh, yeah, basically all the side jobs. No, I actually stopped doing Shipt because it was too physically taxing on me with larger orders. I was basically like literally breaking my body down. So I stopped doing that, but at the very least, I think I can do some kind of summer positions at like the grocery stores or like hostessing or something like that just to get me through the summer kind of thing. And very possibly still doing tutoring over the summer. Because I'm not going to let my kiddo that I've been tutoring for the last 6 months, I'm not going to let him slack off in the 2-3 months that he has off from school. Ain't going to happen. I'm not letting him lose all that. So, Oscar's getting loud about something. But anyway, so that's going to be it for me tonight. Hope you guys have a great rest of the night. Hope you guys are doing well. And I hope to hear from you guys soon. I am trying to get myself back into doing sprints. I've just been so tired when I get home from work that I just end up falling asleep at like 9 o'clock at night. So, yeah. It's okay. Like, I mean, I did the drive a lot more so in the winter because I only decided to stop going out there as often in April. So like I haven't really been doing any jobs out there for the last like month, and it's been nice. But I think for me, how like I am not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm not going to ask for more than what I am able to be given unless there's some wiggle room. But I mean, like, I'm not going to ask the guides or anything like that. I'm not going to ask them for more than what I can get because you ask too much, they start taking stuff away. And that's not good. So we're not going to mess with them. But if I can get my pay up maybe a little bit, that'd be nice. Thank you. Yeah, Bree, thank you so much for joining me. And to everyone else who's watching or is watching the replay, Thank you for joining me. Let me know what you guys thought of things. And then, like I said, Baptism of Fire, we're going to do the live show for this Saturday, June 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like normal. And hopefully I will get some more videos out for you guys. Next week is going to be a lot of shorts because I just don't really have any other ideas for right now, but we're going to do a lot of shorts next week, and I want to get better at making those. So expect that. But anyway, hope you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.